If I could ask our panelists and the distinguished delegates please to take their seats. Allow me to welcome our new panelists, EU Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs, Christos Stylianides, Sweden's State Secretary for Foreign and European Affairs to the Prime Minister, Mr. Hans Dahlgren, His Excellency Abdullah Al-Mualimi, the Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the UN, and Ambassador Richard W. Erdman, Acting US Representative on the UN Economic and Social Council. We begin with Commissioner Stylianides. Please, sir, the floor is yours.
Commissioner General, Excellencies, dear colleagues, we are here today to congratulate UNRWA for its distinguished work with Palestinian refugees in the Middle East. Thanks to UNRWA, over 5 million people in Gaza, the West Bank, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria now have primary education, health, and social services. At the same time, we cannot avoid but to reflect on the sad meaning of today's 65th anniversary. As Pierre already said, an anniversary that signifies a long-standing and painful situation for Palestine and its refugees. A situation that remains unresolved for far too long. Over the past 65 years, UNRWA has worked to improve the living conditions and human dignity of millions of Palestinian refugees and of their host communities. The agency was only able to deliver basic services to Palestinian refugees under very harsh conditions. It was also able to ensure it at very high standards. For this, we are grateful. I'm particularly impressed by how the agency has been performing under increasingly difficult circumstances. Only in the last 3 years, the UNRWA had to face the Syrian crisis, a crisis with severe consequences in Lebanon and Jordan. It had to also face the renewed conflicts in Gaza and, of course, the alarming humanitarian situation that resulted as a consequence. In the European Union, we are aware that UNRWA plays a key role in the region. It has always been on the front line. It has been a stable service provider and a source of protection to the refugee community. This is why the European Union has always strongly supported the agency with large and constant contribution to its general fund, as well as with timely contribution for specific initiatives. Our long-standing political and economic support for UNRWA is in line with the European Union's humanitarian engagement around the world, with the respect for international law, including international humanitarian law and human rights. Let me highlight the fact that, along with its member states, the European Union remains the largest and most predictable donor to UNRWA. Since 2000, the European Union has provided over 1.6 billion euros to the agency, mainly aiming to sustain the delivery of essential public services to the refugees. Under the European Neighbourhood Policy instrument, the average EU contribution to the UNRWA General Fund alone is 82 million euros per year. On top of that, the European Union mobilizes every year dozens of millions of euros for project work that UNRWA implements with EU funding. UNRWA also provides vital humanitarian emergency services. It is one of the main operational partners in occupied Palestinian territories for humanitarian funding. The total humanitarian allocation reached 40 million euros in the last 5 years. This allocation has allowed UNRWA to support vital activities, such as shelter response for the most vulnerable households, including during the conflict in Gaza last summer. We immediately mobilized extra funding supporting UNRWA in providing early relief efforts. We will continue to do so in the current year, 2015. Our funding supports cash assistance programs to improve shelter conditions and to provide household items that were lost during last year's hostilities. Despite this substantial support, we know that EU contributions alone are not enough to meet the increasing needs of the agency. They are not enough to fill its financial gap. UNRWA's core budget is underfunded. So are the emergency appeals. The number and the needs of the Palestinian refugees continue growing. At the same time, the prospect for progress in the Middle East peace process remain elusive. This is an unfortunate reality. It is precisely for this reason that the European Union strongly calls on all donors to further increase their effort to mobilize additional funds to support UNRWA. This will allow Palestinian refugees to continue benefiting of basic services and to have a perspective for human development. High Representative Vice President Federica Mogherini has shown strong commitment to the cause of the Palestinian people. She is determined to work for the achievement of a comprehensive peace agreement based on a two-state solution. The appointment of the EU Special Representative for the Middle East peace process, Fernando Gentilini, underlines the EU's determination to step up engagement in the Middle East peace process. At the same time, the dramatic and desperate situation of Palestinian refugees continues with no improvement. There is a real danger of becoming used to a situation that is constantly deteriorating, a situation that it has already stripped the dignity of human beings. I call, therefore, on the international community to continue seeking a just and lasting solution for Palestine and its refugees. Not to give up, but to increase the efforts for a fair, stable, and equitable solution within the framework of a comprehensive and final permanent status agreement based on the principle of two-state arrangement. We have a collective responsibility to remain firm on these principles. We have a collective responsibility to help bring a political solution to a long-standing tragedy. We have a collective responsibility to stand by the people of Palestine, to stand by the UNRWA. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Stylianides, thank you. I now give the floor to His Excellency Hans Dahlgren, Sweden's State Secretary for